coming out like water. And you guys can see all the gas that came out of that cylinder. It's gonna be smoky if it does. Hey, what's going on everybody? Alex here with Freedom Mowers. I hope you all are doing well. We've got a nice crusty Craftsman today that's been sitting for approximately 5 years. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys. We're gonna jump right into it and see if we can get this thing revived. And here's what we are working with. We have a Craftsman YT3000. This is a hydrostatic, not the automatic. So this one does have the actual hydrostatic with the metal transmission. We have a 42-inch deck on this one and 21 horsepower Intech single. Now I got this last year. I actually purchased a four-wheeler, got a Kawasaki Bayou, and when I was there the guy had 2 yard tractors that were sitting out back under a lean-to, and I asked about them. I said, you know, is that something you're going to do anything with? And I was going to shoot him a number. And he said, honestly, they've been sitting here. If that's something you're interested in, he said, take them. So I actually picked up the four-wheeler, and then I went back and picked up both of the mowers. I'll show you guys the other one in another video. It's about just as crusty as this one. He said that they had both been sitting for about 4 years, and they've both been here since last year for me. As far as overview on it, I can take a look at the oil. I did lift out the dipstick the other day, and it's quite over full, and it did smell like gas. So we have the Nicky carburetor on here, and I'm pretty sure the needle and seat let go on here at some point, and we basically have an engine full of gas right now. These don't even stay tight. And you guys can see the air filter here. There's a whole bunch of looks like bug droppings in there. I didn't see any mouse nests, so that's a good sign. The deck condition still looked pretty good, just from what I could see. And I did see, I don't know if you guys can tell, there's a sticker still on top of the blade. Try to do this one-handed. Still has basically a new edge on it. Chute's cracked, but that's something that we can fix. Steering on it, I think that the steering bushing is pretty much shot, and then when I was trying to push it over here, the steering really doesn't even want to move, so it's kind of froze up. There was a wood screw in the height adjuster. I have no idea why. It doesn't even look like they put the tab. There's a little metal tab here that slips underneath, and then the back mounts. Gas looks like we've got a little bit down in there, but there's a bunch of water too. So that's pretty much a quick overview on it. I think this will be a pretty nice tractor. Oh, I totally forgot about the seat. This is what was left of it. He had the seat pan off for some reason, and you guys can see here how bad the seat is. I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna try to see if I have another high back seat that's in better condition, or possibly even a low back seat that's in better shape than that. I did turn it over by hand. It's very hard when it hits that compression stroke. I'll go ahead and pull this thing in the shop, and we're gonna dive right in. All right, I did pop the hood off just so we could get ease of access here. I think the first thing that we're gonna do is we'll get a good accurate reading on the dipstick now that we're on level ground. And then we'll probably just hook up the jumper pack to it. I'm gonna try to bump the starter just to see if we're actually getting power. And if we do, then we'll just go ahead and drain this gas oil mix out. Yeah, see, it's all the way up to the first curve here, so it's way over full, and it smells like straight gasoline. All right, well, I've got the jumper pack hooked up. So we'll just give it a little bump. Yeah, it's struggling to get over that compression stroke. I've got like 12.7 volts in the jumper pack, so I mean there should be plenty there to turn over easy. But we do have power, so that's already a huge step. We don't have solenoid issues or any other wiring issues so far. So let's go ahead and get this drained out, and then we'll probably disconnect all the fuel going to it. We'll just put some fuel down in the carburetor just to see if we can get it to kick over. And I do also have another Nicky carburetor that I rebuilt this last week, so hopefully this one will be good. All right, I actually have a pan that should work for this, so I guess you just take the cap right off. You guys can see. Let me get you off the tripod here. It's coming out like water. And I forgot to loosen up the dipstick tube. That'll give us a little better flow. Let me get y'all back on the tripod here. Oh yeah. Oil is not supposed to be that thin. I guess we'll probably pull it outside too, and I'll crank it over with the plug out just to make sure the cylinder does not have a bunch of gas in it. We will go ahead and put some oil in here for now. Obviously we'll probably do a secondary change, then we can basically disconnect the fuel system and try to put some fuel down in the carburetor to see if we can get this thing to kick over. And then from there we'll probably just put on that new carburetor, we'll clean out this tank and keep moving forward with the machine. All right, let's get this plug out, see what we got going on. Yeah, that thing is soaked. You guys can see the gas just coming right off from there. So let's just kind of spin it over by hand. Oh yeah, there's some gas coming out. Let me go ahead and disconnect the fuel line too, because if there is still some fuel in there, so it could just keep on leaking by. That sun is really bright, that's why I had the shop doors closed. I've got the jumper pack hooked up, and we're gonna see if we've got gas spewing out of here when we crank it over. So here we go. Pretty good amount of fuel came out of there. I'll give it one more crank. And you guys can see all the gas that came out of that cylinder. So I'm gonna go ahead and wipe this down. I'm gonna spray out that spark plug with compressed air, and I'm gonna get that back in, and we will dribble some fuel into here and see if we can get it to kick over. All right, got that cleaned up, and before I put any fuel in there, we're gonna see if this thing will at least turn over for us. Yeah, it turns over just fine now. So we'll put a little bit of fuel. See if that's enough just to get it to bust off. It's gonna be smoky if it does. Started right up. Let me set y'all on the tripod. We'll see if we can feed it right out of the bottle for a minute. All right, well, I would call that a win right there. Sounds super healthy and very smooth. That muffler is really quiet on here as well. You guys can saw just basically emptying out a full engine of gasoline and getting that all cleaned up. A little bit of fuel, I mean, it cranks right up. As far as the hydro transmission deck and all that, we will get to it. but that is good news. So our next step, we'll go ahead and pull this back into the shop. I'm gonna pop this gas tank off. It's just 2 bolts, and I'll work on starting to get that cleaned out, and then we will go ahead and get this top shroud off to get the carburetor changed. And once we get those done, we'll go ahead and run this thing and see if our transmission is going to work for us. All right, and just to save on a little bit of time, I did go ahead and pull the tank. It's just those 2 3/8. I've got that sitting right there, so I will get working on that here in a minute. I did also pull the 4 bolts that hold the upper shroud, and there's also a 1/4 inch little screw that goes into the plastic. And there we go. So now we are right to the carburetor. We just have 2 7/16 nuts on each side, and then that will allow you to pull this tube off. And then you have, I use a deep well 5/16 to get these studs that will pull the whole carburetor. Disconnect the breather hose for the engine. The little piece fell out. I'll find that. And then you just slide it right out, slide the linkage off, and take the throttle off. Now I know some of you guys watch my videos all the time, so you know how to take these carburetors off easy, but the choke on here, there's just a little slot up here at the top, and that's where that pulls from. It's normally in the outside hole on this black arm. So that slides out, and then you kind of just twist the carburetor, and you have these 2 linkages. This is actually your throttle, or what connects to the governor. You have the little assist spring, and then the actual main arm. The main arm goes into this white piece here, and the assist spring goes into the smaller hole. And that's really about it. And then I normally just disconnect the arm, lay everything over to the side, and pull our studs out. I did forget to mention taking off the anti-backfire wiring, and that's really about it. I got to make sure the gasket is on our other carburetor, and that's pretty much about it. So I'm going to go ahead and swap over the other carburetor onto here, reverse order of what I just did, and then I'm going to get that tank cleaned up. I'll show you guys once that tank is cleaned. Basically what I'm going to do is just empty out the fuel that's in it, and then put a couple rags down in there and use some of those mechanical fingers to basically swirl the rag around and get it nice and dry and clean. And I'll show you guys when we're back here. We can put some fuel in it and see if we can get this thing up and running. All right, and I got that tank cleaned up the best I could. For some reason these tanks, they seem to just get these spots in it, and they're really hard to get out. I've always had issues with it, but the tank's nice and clean and dry now. I didn't bolt it back on yet because I do, when I pressure wash this, I want to be able to pull this off and get everything back in there. So the back part of the line was still nice and pliable. The front was just getting a little gross, so I went ahead and clipped a new piece of fuel line and put a new fuel filter on. I haven't even hooked it up yet. So we'll go ahead and just put this on for now, and I can put this little hose. It's just a vent line for the tank. That's pretty much about it. I'll go ahead and put a little splash of some fuel in here, and we'll see. I'm hoping that this carburetor is going to work. I'm going to get y'all on a tripod. We'll put some gas in it. We'll see if this thing will actually run decent. I am going to leave the upper shroud off just for now, and we'll only run it for a minute. You want to have the upper shrouds on these when you run them, because these fins right here are actually what blow air across all of the fins on the cylinder head, and that shroud is what actually keeps it contained in there. Alright, well, here we go. Make sure we got our parking brake set. Well, we definitely have some surging going on there. Well, that's a bummer. We definitely have some surging going on, so probably our main jet on here is not clean enough. Just for now, I'll probably end up just taking this carburetor back off, try to re-clean it and see what we can do. But I'm gonna throw the upper shroud back on, and I'll just move the jumper pack over here to the side and leave it connected. I do have the seat safety bypassed right now, but we'll be able to test the transmission. I'll just put the battery pack over here, I'll let the brake out, and then we can at least check reverse and forward and see how the transmission sounds. So I'm just gonna place the cover on the top. We'll just leave it down low because it was running just fine. Sounds good to me. I don't hear anything. Pulleys sound good. Awesome. Sweet. Well, seems like the transmission's working just like it's supposed to. Surprisingly, those pulleys, a lot of times on these Husqvarna style, because this is actually made by Husqvarna, the Husqvarna ones have, I think, three pulleys under. They go to the drive system, and a lot of times at least one of them has a lot of bearing noise. I'm going to go back through and take apart the carb on here and see if I can get that cleaned out really good, because it's just at high speed where we're getting that surging. Low speed seems to run just fine. I'm going to work on that, see if I can get that dialed in, and then we will just move forward as far as probably dropping the deck, checking that, and see what's going on with the steering as well. We need to get this mowing deck off from here so we can see the condition of this. And on this particular style Craftsman, they just have the mount back here on both sides. You take that cotter pin out, there is one right in the middle on both sides, and then we have the front linkage just needs to be taken off. Take the slip the mowing deck belt off, and then we just need to unhook the cable and cotter pin, and then this whole thing will slide out. So I'm gonna put you guys on the time lapse, and I'm gonna go ahead and get this pulled off. All right, and overall it looks really good. Go ahead and see if we can move these spindles and pulleys. I did notice right when I got it off, I did see originally there was some tearing of this outside layer, but the rest of the belt looks brand new, and I could see right here that someone did not put the belt on the inside of this keeper, and so it looks like the belt was riding on the outside and it caused all that chafing. So basically a brand new belt is already kind of torn up, so we're gonna probably have to put a new one on here. I'm pretty sure I have a good used one. We'll see. And you can see also that basically the belt is pretty much rust welded to the pulley. You'll see it here in a minute, just from sitting so long. So we'll just go ahead and remove the whole belt. That idler looks really good. It's got a little bit of noise, but no play. The brakes are not touching on it right now, so they probably just need to be adjusted a little bit. This arm right here is bent out, so we'll probably have to bend this arm a little bit, but it is pivoting just fine. I can see some sand down in the bottom, so maybe when we clean this up, we'll see how the bearings actually sound. This one over here is a little tight, but it could just be from sitting. But overall condition, I don't see any rust holes. Actually, I take that back. We can see that right here on this spot, there has been a previous patch on here. And I can see a little bit of overspray now too, where they did color match it. Let me flip these up. And the blades on here, just like I had looked at them before, these are almost brand new. We'll see how they match up here on the ends. It's pretty close, maybe an 1/8 of an inch difference. Yeah, about the same. It's slightly off. That shouldn't make any too much difference though. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get this pressure washed, and we'll just check once I can get the bottom side of these cleaned up a little bit. We'll see how those spindles sound, but I think this will basically just need a good wash, and I'll see about possibly mending up those cracks in the chute. But I think the deck's gonna be good, and then we'll get the mower back up on the hoist and we can check out underside, see the condition of our drive belts, and move on from there. I was able to get, I think it was this pulley that was kind of a little tight. It's rolling now. They both actually sound a lot quieter than I think they're picking up on the camera. And they're on top of this metal piece, because when I had them on the ground, I could hear virtually no noise. Yeah, this one, I think this is the one that was froze up. But you guys can see, that one's almost has no noise. The rest of the pulleys were good, so I think we're gonna have a nice quiet deck. So let's go ahead and jump to the machine. I did get this lifted up, and I did take a peek underneath. So far everything looks good. I have looked underneath it here, and all of our pulleys look good. I didn't see any flat spots. Everything is moving freely. When we had this out moving the other day, you guys heard it, the drive system's nice and quiet. This idler right here actually looks like it's been replaced. It looks like it's in almost brand new condition besides the dirt. So I think everything looks pretty good on the underside here. It actually looked really clean. I looked at the hydro, the fan blades on top of the hydro transmission, they all look good, and the belt was in great shape. So I'll get this washed up and show you guys afterwards. Alright, and I did get this thing pressure washed yesterday. You guys can see it's quite a bit cleaner, but this thing was pretty well thrashed as far as the paint on here, and headlight lenses, back. It's not too bad, honestly. I think some of it will buff out, some won't. I know this one's not going to be the cleanest tractor by any means, but it should be a good working tractor when we get finished up with it. Let's see. Yeah, so I got it pressure washed, and yesterday before I took it over to the pressure wash, I did put a little bit of grease on the plate here, just where it makes contact with this pad. And then where else? I think that was it. And then I did put some I put some grease here in the spindles. But I just noticed, because I was going to get this up in the air, the steering is still really tight. But on this pivot point right here, there is a grease cert on it. And the steering did free up some, but this is still, it's taken quite a bit to get this to turn. So I am going to go ahead and grease both of those, and I'm going to try to see if I can get a little bit of some spray down where the steering shaft goes into that bushing and comes down, and I'm going to work that for a little bit while it's up in the air and it doesn't have the weight of the front end on it, and see if I can get this loosened up. Alright, well, I've got the steering about as buttery smooth as I can get it on here. You guys can see that now. So, like I said, on these arms here, I greased up the cert fitting, and also on all of the ball joints, I did put a little bit of oil. I just put some 10W30 in my can. That's what I usually use. I am going to go ahead and start on buffing. I've just got my buffer and some cheap Turtle Wax rubbing compound. I'm going to go to town on this thing, try to get most of these light scratches out. The deep stuff I know is not going to. Probably going to take the lenses off, clean those all out. Still got to find a seat for it, and then I think we just got to finish putting the deck on here, and we'll be in pretty good shape. Also need to shine up the plastics. You guys always ask me on here too, what do you use? What is ATF? Automatic transmission fluid. I put that on a microfiber towel. I wipe it onto the paints and the plastics where I need it, and basically let it set for a little while, and then I try to wipe it all off, at least the extra greasy stuff, and it leaves a really good shine, and it kind of restores the plastics. Right, well, I've got pretty much most of the stuff I had talked about done earlier. I still need to buff the headlights. I did take the lenses out and cleaned in there. I did buff the whole machine. Did the ATF on the plastics. It's starting to rain back out here again, so I got to pull it back in. But I am going to go ahead and put the mowing deck on. I painted up the back like I was telling you guys, and the deck height plate there, got that installed. Biggest thing that I worked on is I had that seat mount I had showed you guys before. I did find another seat. The cushion on this one is separated, so I will be gluing it down. If you guys want to see how I glue down the seats, I did make a shorts on it, and I think in a couple of the other videos, I think I'm going to make a video that's specifically on just putting these seats back together, because a lot of these on these Husqvarna Craftsman tractors, the glue separates. Yeah, I've got to get the mowing deck from over there, get it mounted up, and I still need to go up to the store to grab a battery. But when I get that stuff, I'll show you guys where we're at, and we'll give this thing a good test run, make sure everything's going to work on it. One of the other issues that this one had was just that chute was all cracked to pieces. I just have my little torch here and an old flathead screwdriver, so I'm basically just gonna heat up the end and start working the plastic to mend these cracks. Well, basically you'll press it in, you'll see that plastic start to melt, and then usually I kind of slightly move it back and forth like I'm welding, and kind of mashes that plastic in there. You'll see. Smooth it as we go to basically just fill in the void with the plastic that's around it. I'll just show you guys a quick spot, and then I'll probably spend the next 10 minutes or so finishing up all these cracks. See, I'll just kind of wiggle it back and forth, and that just helps spread that plastic out. Then you can go back to, once you've got the crack filled, and just smooth it all out. Yeah, I mean, that'll work just as good as it did before. I'm just gonna keep working at it, and I'll go ahead and get this machine pulled out and show you guys what everything looks like, and we're finally gonna get to testing this out. All right, just finished up with that chute. Show you guys real quick. You can see the marks on there a little bit, but overall, at least it's gonna stay intact for now. Yeah, overall this thing turned out pretty nice. We just got that one mismatched wheel on here. They must have replaced it at some point. Everything under the hood looks good. Overall, it's good. I do still need to put the bolts back in for the tank, but fire it right up. Runs good. We can finally test these blades. I'm gonna get you guys set up on the tripod after we get it, hopefully at least working, and then we'll take it around and do some cutting. The yard's getting pretty long, so all right, well, I think that we have a nice, good running mower here. Let me know what you guys think. What would you sell a mower like this in your area, or what would you buy a mower in your area like this one? I'm probably thinking $550. It is kind of the peak time of the season. May could get $600 out of it, but a lot of people can't look past the cosmetics. I know it looks pretty shiny on camera, but if you look at it up close, it's very scratched. It just looks like it's been put through its paces, but overall, I think we got a great machine. Everything runs solid on it. We've checked everything, and it's fully functional, ready to go, and serviced. So I really appreciate you guys checking out the channel as always. All the new subscribers that come into the channel, new comments, I try to reply back to everybody. and I just love seeing you guys come by and supporting. It means the world to me. So on that note, let freedom ring, let those small engines sing. I'll see you all in the next one.